Porter used the close-up to heighten a sense of cause and effect. Kuleshov experimented with it in order to create an emotional link between shots. However, it was D.W. Griffith who really pushed the close-up as one of the main tools to draw us emotionally into a scene. In Enoch Arden from 1908, he uses a close-up of two doting parents to add emotional weight to the love they have for each other and their child. In Broken Blossoms from 1919, he uses a close-up of a terrified daughter to add to the sense of her terror as her father tries to break down the door and get to her. The close-up soon became, and is still now, a staple of cinema, and is regularly used to get the audience into the emotional heart of a scene. Griffith's great contribution to film language and editing was his growing awareness that scenes could be broken down into a series of long shots, medium shots and close-ups that could be used to decide how a scene should play out, and how emotionally involved the audience would be in the scene. Let's look now at how the choice of a long shot, a medium shot or a close-up can change the impact of a scene. Here we see a man working late at night. He hears a noise. He gets up and goes out to the corridor in order to investigate where the noise came from. Let's now look again at the scene, this time only using a long shot. It has a major impact upon how the scene is played out. The scene certainly still works, but we have a different engagement with it. We are now more distant as an audience. There is nothing wrong with this approach, let's remember that. It just suggests that the director or editor might want the audience to, at this point in time, be more detached from what's going on, almost as if they are observing from afar. The use of just the long shot also changes the dynamic tension in the scene. Because it's one single shot, the scene now has a sense of stillness to it. Whereas in this version, which has a long shot, a medium shot, and a close-up, it has a bit more visual dynamism to it, and a bit more impact. Shot choice can also be engaged in order to dictate how much information an audience gets at a certain time. For example, we could start outside, then when we cut inside, all we see first are the hands of the man. It just slightly delays the information we're given, and it takes longer for us to be shown the full context of the scene. It might even add a sense of mystery to the opening of the scene. Film language is constantly changing, and where it might once have been that scenes always started out with a long shot, then moved into a medium shot, and then a close-up to lay out the scene, we can now see how many modern films are pushing the boundaries of how scenes are visually played out. In this scene from BBC TV's Luther, for example, the scene begins with a close-up, then another close-up, and only on the third shot do we get the long shot and the context of the scene. This is highly different from how scenes were played out in Griffith's day. Remember folks that none of these choices are particularly wrong. They're all different. It's just that when you employ them as a filmmaker, make sure you know why you're choosing these techniques. For assessment evidence, make sure you note Griffith's development of the close-up for emotional impact. Note also how we brought to fruition the idea that shot choice could be used to draw an audience in and out of a scene. At this stage, you should also film a short scene yourself and play with shot choice in order to adjust the dramatic emphasis of the scene. And finally, you should note how modern films are increasingly playing with the ordering of shot choice.